Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Hi, Alex. Yeah, I was just getting ready to, I finished uploading them videos and realized I had to, might should tinkle before I went any further. I am your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, for those of you who may just come. What an entrance, right? Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and a little tired, but I'm having a good time today. I greet you all with love and honor from the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all you may come in contact with will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And there are lots of them. But so anyway, what an entrance, right? Hey, man, I just had to go pee. But sorry about that, folks, for newcomers or whatever. Everybody else is sort of used to me with doing that, but didn't even give my intro. I'm also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. So I posted 11 videos today, just a little bit ago. And it's time for my sinus meds. But for those of you who've been hanging out with me for a while, I've been working on, my trailer for the canoe and the kayaks and all that kind of stuff. Well, so the river has been not just calling me, but hola, SD, how are you? Me too. I got it. I'm ready. I'm ready. Really. Where's my lighter? Um, but I've been wanting to share a good. Yes, please share with us. Or share with yourself. Or anyway, that sounded bad. You know, smoke with us, or never mind. So, knowing how heavy this canoe is, and me getting older, I'm 69. I have to keep bringing it up. It's just, I'm sorry. It's just funny. I can only be 69 once, but anyway. So I'm 15 minutes early on my 20, but if you hang out with me, it's 20 almost any time, right? But anyway, so I've been wanting to share, a trip down the river with you and kind of show you really what it's like and everything. And I've tried several times with different cameras and stuff, and I have been in the kayak. So the kayak is really difficult to set stuff up, the paddling and the thing, and and my videos have not done well from the kayak point of view. So with Duggar, who's a big old friend of mine, a four-legged critter, he he has gone with me in the kayak several times, right? But it's like he's sitting on my nads, right? And there ain't much room for neither one of us. So I have been wanting to get my canoe, which is a 17 plus canoe footer. And I never really realized how big the damn thing was until here recently. And I'm like 17 and a half foot. So I'm paddling along tonight, coming back up the river, and I'm going, I'm thinking to myself, I'm at the back and I'm looking forward and through the camera eye and everything at the river. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a long way to the front of this thing. Literally, it's like 12 feet in front of me because it's a 17 footer. And so it's at least 12 to 14 feet in front of me. I'm like, holy crap, to the front of the canoe. You know, most folks don't even have a canoe that's 14 feet long, you know, and mine's 3 feet longer, right? So my kayak is 10 foot. That's another 7 foot. I mean, that's another kayak, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, it was very stable. I didn't take much, but you know, I got to sit on the floor of it while Duggar was trying to get used to it, and he laid down and looked over the rail, and he did real well. Didn't try to jump out or anything like that. He tried to look over the edge a couple times, which kind of has a tendency to want to tilt it. But so for me, this was a really big test. Yeah, I've got three kayaks of two different styles, but two the same and one different. But and then I've got this monstrosity of a Cadillac of a canoe. But in going all the way down, almost to the Georgia 3 bridge, which is my reference, there are a bunch of trees down and you can't get through. And so I tried to show that in one of the videos, and I knocked the camera over and the battery went dead. But yeah, it is a boat, SC, honest to God. Um, Divine flow. Yeah, I went with the flow of the river today. But so anyway, you know, I got some good shots with the camera and on a small tripod that sits right in, you know, one of there are three cross braces on the canoe, and I kind of wedged it between one and set it up there. And I previewed a lot of the video, and I'm like, you know, it really kind of does look like that. It looks better in real life, as far as what the river looks like and the foliage and all that. But um, for me, it wasn't just the trip on the river, but I've been wanting to show the river to everybody for a long time, not just these little snippets, but, you know, like uh, we were on the river for a couple of hours. So going down, it was so bright with the sun more in my eye and the camera eye. I didn't do much at all, a couple of pictures and a little bit of video, but waited till I got to the end and turned around so the sun would be behind me. And it almost turned out too dark in some places. But the camera has some settings for white balance, and it wants to switch, you know, like, no, stop, pick that one, leave it alone. But then in looking at the video and previewing it, uh, actually the colors are pretty accurate, from my eye to the camera's portrayal of what the trees and stuff like that look like. It's I live in South Georgia, Alex, and it's the big Ochlocknee River, and from in my backyard is the little Ochlocknee River. Okay, I mean it's literally part of my property line to the folks on the other side of the river. So down where I put in at today, and usually because there's a boat ramp there and a parking and all that good stuff, um, is very close, about a mile upstream from where the boat ramp is where the little Ochlocknee joins the big Ochlocknee. And I have wanted to like float down all the way, but there's too many trees in across the little Ochlocknee. And but the big Ochlocknee then goes all the way down into Florida and then becomes Ochlocknee Bay, down between Carabel and let's see, St. Mark's area, which is big oysters bay down there. A lot of nice big bay, not very deep, but big bay. So not a lot of, you know, it's not for big vessels, but way back in the day, pirates did come up the river up to certain points. But because it's a sandy bottomed river, it's you can't float on it all the time. It's, you know, summertime, it just almost goes dry, right? But anyway, so but right now the river was up about 6.5 feet, which is still slightly above normal, but not much. but you could tell where it was up to 8 and 9 feet consistently along the bank. You could tell where the trees, where the water line is on the trees. But the Ochlocknee River um, has a higher elevation up here in Georgia, and about the time it crosses the state line, it's dropped like 75 feet in elevation, from my house to down there. And of course, you expect the elevation to drop, but actually, it's more than that. Well, no, I guess about 50 feet. So Georgia is on top of Florida. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it is. So, a lot of folks know where Tallahassee is. It's easy to find. I'm almost due north of Tallahassee by like 40 miles as the crow flies. So, but yeah, very close to there. But so we got several rivers coming out of South Georgia, and that from Valdosta over west, all the rivers that flow south go into Florida. Over around Waycross and the Okefenokee Swamp, the rivers start going over towards the Atlantic. But a lot of them, even the Swanee River starts. And hey, Green, how are you? Greenie, good morning to you guys too, to y'all. But anyway, so I've been on, several of these rivers down here and been trying to get some folks to go with me and do some other, but um, for my own sake and, with Duggar, I had to see if I could get the canoe. So the very first session of videos I did, I was here at the house and had the canoe loaded up. And the canoe hangs out. It's 17 and a half foot. The trailer's only 8. Think about it. So half of this canoe is hanging over the back end. I mean, and I'm about lost it coming down the driveway because every time I stepped on the brake, my truck stalled. And I got pulled into the yard and got out and looked at the canoe's like hanging off the back. And I was like, holy Jesus, because I was tired and I'm trying to tie it back on. And I thought I had it, but really didn't. Oh my God, it literally almost fell off coming down the driveway. But anyway, so I will know better on that. But here's one thing I did learn for me. I mean, the damn thing's heavy. It's 100 pounds plus kind of thing. But it's not so much the weight as it is it's 17 and a half feet long and really, wants to twist on you by yourself. So, I've handled all the kayaks by myself and I've handled this canoe by myself. But the last time I used it, um, I couldn't get it on top of the truck. And I strained myself and I just sat on the beach down there and literally I was in tears. It hurt so bad. But there was some guy that come up and decided to go fishing. And he's like, dude, you need some help? And I was, oh, please, Jesus, help me get this thing on my truck, you know. It only took a second with me and him just going whoop, it was there, But for myself, so what I did was I lifted it up onto the back of the trailer and used the trailer and its counterweight, right, to push it all the way up onto the trailer, which still left 8 feet sticking out the back. it, it's a good thing it's straight to the river and straight back home, but um, that's why I wanted to show the video. So, but now that I've learned that I can get it up on the back of the trailer, all right, because it's not as high. Now that it's on the trailer, I can go up to where the bumper is and the hitch and get under it and lift it the rest of the way onto the top of my truck, which is really, after seeing this today, is really where it needs to go. It does not need to be hanging off the back of this trailer. But I will have to take the trailer every time I go take the canoe because unless somebody goes with me and helps me lift it, because it was all I could do to get that thing back on the trailer after I got off the river today. And Duggar was so good, but he just can't pick up his portion of the kayak. Uh, hey, hey, Chloe. So if you get a chance, you know, some of it might be boring to you. It just looks like river and green and stuff. But some of the pictures, if you've never been down in the swamp and so forth, and I try to say, where the river goes over here, and here's a train trestle, blah blah blah. Much a little bit of a guided tour. Can't hang out, but so happy you went canoeing. Oh, me too, Chloe. And Duggar was so comfortable. It was all this trip was all about Duggar's comfort. But just to tell you, you'll hear in the video if you watch it that I keep saying, "Man, I have missed my canoe," and I have. But the damn thing's just so heavy, and to the point where it would have to have its own trailer if I couldn't get it on top of the truck anymore. Well, I've already got this trailer, my camping trailer, and I've got my other kayaks and stuff, but I really do miss this canoe. As I was rewatching some of the video to see how the colors turned out and the audio and so forth, not bad for just grabbing the camera and going without any kind of pre-planning or anything, right? That I'm looking at the water going by, and I'm like, I'm really kind of moving along, and I'm not really like busting my butt trying to paddle, and I'm watching the ripples go by on the canoe, and I'm going upstream, and I'm like, wow, look at the bows, coming off the water. I'm like, and me and this canoe's really kind of hauling butt, and which is interesting in that once you get that canoe going, it glides pretty well. Whereas the kayaks don't seem to glide as good. Uh, I can't really explain that. The glide thing. Maybe it's the displacement of the weight in a shorter kayak versus that 17 and a half foot canoe. But I paddle it everywhere. And as I said in my last little on chapter 11, part 11, that I don't feel like I have stroked the as many as I haven't paddled more with the canoe than I have with the kayak as far as paddle strokes, right? And I didn't count, but I mean, I can just tell by how much I'm paddling and the fact that I haven't paddled in a while, I should be more tired, right? The canoe weighs heavier. It's like harder to get through the water, but once you get it going, man. So, but I know it's all about the canoe and the kayak and the thing, but it, I was surprised that it worked out so good. Just saying. So, while on the river, got to notice that with all the high water and stuff, there are still some places there are trees down. There are still some places in the more narrower places where the river banks closer. And if you watch the videos, you'll understand. I come out of the narrower river, and it breaks open into like a big lake, right? And so, and then you go around a ways, and then it narrows back down again and stays a river for a while, and then it breaks back out into a big lake kind of area again. Um, but there were some places that when the water gets a little lower, it's going to be difficult to get around. It's going to have to be cut. Um, it's going to have to be cut out. There were some sections where there were a lot of bottles and things that hoping that those kinds of things would have ended up down in Lake Talquin for the folks in Florida to pick up. But at the same time, not as much as there could have been. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, well, there's some bottles and stuff. Then on the way back, I had a chance to look at it a little better and was like, well, it's not as bad as some of the the um, what would I call them? The way these limbs and stuff drag across the water, and depending on high or low, it acts almost like a rake, and bottles and things and debris, natural debris and leaves and other stuff, you know. But after on the way back, I looked at it a little closer at one of them, and all the way across the river. When the river drops another foot, you know, somebody's going to have to cut some limbs, or nobody's getting through. Um, which is normal, but you know, just it's in a really nice wide spot, and it's on one of the videos at how far across the river it goes. But and then there's another tree that drops in this way. But I hope if you watch them that you will enjoy them and be able to at least, you know, kind of see literally through Duggar's head at what he and I are seeing while we're on the river. Um, I know that in different places of the world, there are different places and different kinds of rivers and things, and each has their own special qualities. And I would beseech you that if you can, find a river and rent a boat, find a friend. If you don't have a canoe or something, get a boat, something. Go get on the river, you know, and feel the river because I surely missed it, you know, all this summer with it as being as high as it has been. And we got on it earlier on in the spring with my friend Rob. And he told me yesterday, he said, look, if I come by, we'll just go down to the river. And I said, okay. Well, he didn't come by yesterday, but I worked on the canoe. I built a new back seat because my seat had fallen out somewhere on the road somewhere. So I put it in a new seat. I checked some things, checked my ropes, and the places that have some weirdness on the hull, on the bottom of the boat, um, no leaks. The only water that was in the boat was me that I drug in with my shoes. So you know, as far as the canoe is sound, where I was like, well, if I go somewhere with it, is it gonna leak? You know, and I still want to patch these areas a little better, but they're not leaking. So that part right there is like a thumbs up. So I can go to the river anytime I want to without worrying about it leaking at least for the moment. And I can carry all kinds of crap with me when I go, you know. But it was a wonderful trip to get back on the water again. And I know there are folks who go by the water and stuff and all that. And I can go up here to the river and be at the bridge and watch the water go by. But it is not the same as being on the river and floating it and feeling it. And whew. So it's a 20. Oh, I missed the 20. Oh, by a minute or two. Oh, we got to rectify this. We got to rectify it. So, my dear friends, Alex and SD and Chloe, um, I know you're listening, but SD, I still can't find my cards. But in my head yesterday, I wanted to pull you a card, and I was getting this message that we're still hoping everything's going to be okay for you, your job thing. There's a lot of prayers out there kind of floating around on your behalf. So I hope they're true. Yeah, I had just got done uploading the last one, and you know it's 2:30 my time. It's 3:30 Eastern Daylight. You'll all be back to my time by the end of the month, I think. You know, when the clocks go back. But I took a nap, had to when I got home because the whole trip and lifting and carrying and doing just it wore me in, you know. So, but I made it home safe and decided to upload the videos and see how long that would take, and wasn't bad. And now that I'm just sort of still a little wound up, wanted to do a bowl and cheers with everybody and see who was up at 3:30 in the morning. But I'm very proud of my dear friend Duggar, who really did well. He kept wanting to sit on one side. So I got this little. Oh, that was a good one, man. Let me tell you. I got this here little um, tripod, right? I did good. Um, and uh, and this will extend up higher. I just put tape around it, shoved it down in there. It had a different other thing that went up and down in it, and that part broke. But you screw your camera onto there, and what I did was I put one of these forward and then clamp it as tight as I could in the canoe, and then camera sitting up here, of course. And but when Duggar was sitting, so I was trying to get it. The camera was level a lot of the time, but Duggar was sitting on one side and towards the end, and the camera kept wanting to fall over. It almost bit the water. Holy crap! Towards the end, and it was sort of my fault, but he was still sitting on to the left of the canoe, and we were listing a little bit. So in those last few shots, I even say, this was just fine when Duggar was laying on the floor, right? But he's sitting up and on one side, and so everything in the camera is like listing to his side. But anyway, it's interesting. When I was growing up, I wanted to be like Mar. It's okay, Greenie. Um, it really is. You don't have to participate in the chat. Um, and I'm just kind of winding down after a couple of long days of working on the trying to work this out as to how I was going to be able to get to the river. And I'm not saying that I wasted a lot of time yesterday, because it wasn't sure that my buddy Rob was going to be able to go with me. And I had another friend show up, and it just got too late to go canoeing yesterday. But late yesterday evening, and this morning, I'm like, we got to go today. And the weather turned out well. The river was still up well. Um, and it turned out to be a beautiful trip. There, when I got to the big main portion of the lake earlier this afternoon, the sun was really bright and on my face, and I really wanted to get off that part of the river. But it's actually like a big lake, and then it joins the river. Part three of of the series. But anyway, um, I was lucky coming back up the river. The river joins this particular lake, right? Where the boat ramp and everything is. And coming around there, the sun had just bottomed out over the trees, and the sky's blue and lit up. And as I'm crossing over the lake, the sun goes down and starts getting dark. That was like perfect timing, And as I was looking at the minutes on the video, what seemed like 5 or 6 minutes was actually only like 2 or 3. So I'm chatting into the thing and I'm paddling across the lake. And I even said I'll be able to check by the timeline to see how long it actually takes me to paddle across the lake, right? Well, apparently it doesn't take me long at all because when I looked at the whole video was only like 3 minutes and something. And I was still on the river when I made the turn. So it only took me a couple of minutes to paddle across this lake. And I'm like, you know, I must be pretty good as far as paddling. But like I said, I didn't bust my ass at all in paddling. I just stayed normal. It is kind of sort of a constant thing in that when the canoe loses its momentum, it takes a little bit more effort to get it back up to speed. So it's easier just to, even if it's just a little bit of a paddle, just to keep, even if you're coasting, paddle a little bit, coast some more, paddle, rather than paddle, 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 paddle. But for me, there's something about, and I've discussed this in one of the videos, but in that you can hold your hands close or you can spread them out on the paddles. And where your hands are affects there's certain muscles on your shoulders and your back. So there are some people that I've watched who will just hold that paddle in one place, and they won't move their hands in or out. And within an hour, they're so sore and tired of paddling, they like want to just give up, right? Well, I know I paddled for a couple of hours, sometimes back and forth and up and around, you know, to look at a couple things, and I backed up, to fix the camera and stuff, to change the battery. But to the point though, um, I should like not be able to move my arms with all the paddling and the lifting of the canoe and everything. I don't feel like that. And that was well, it was 12 hours ago that we got on the river, and I got out at right at 7 o'clock. So, about 4 hours on the river total, putting in and taking out, and but on the river, most of it was on the river. So, for those folks who have the opportunity, though, I would like to especially now that fall is here. This weekend it's supposed to, be partly cloudy and maybe a little rain, but next week the highs are supposed to be in the 70s and the lows into the mid 50s. Ooh, we talking camping weather now for sure. No bugs, and it's going to be fairly clear, so we shouldn't have any rain either. So, a trip back down to the river soon, you know, especially, I need to practice how to get it up onto my truck. And I think I got an idea. So I need to make some modifications. And then, of course, I will have to practice them. If I'm going to practice them, I might as well go down to the river and do it instead of doing it at the yard, which I'm going to have to do both. But anyway, uh, the excuse to go back to the river, right? Especially since the water's good and the temperature, the water was chilly, but acceptable, right? But if the weather stays fair and more on the chilly side, then it's just going to make it even more pleasant on the river. So, but anyway, I don't really have a whole lot to say. I just wanted to hang out for a few minutes with everybody. Esty, I just know that there's a lot of folks praying for you. I know that fact right there. Me, busybody, me. And I'm getting tired. Got to lay down. I have done a lot of exertion. It was a good day. And I still say, if anybody's in the neighborhood and y'all want to go down the river, now that I have refloated my canoe and worked out some issues and stuff, I am absolutely ready to go. Okay. So I'm going to get my Cadillac polished up. I keep calling it my canoe, my Cadillac, because if you watch the videos and you see how easy I'm going through the water, and towards the end when it's getting darker, well, towards the end you couldn't see earlier because it was too bright, but you can still see the trees and the different colors. And on the right side the bank's much higher than the left, and then sometimes it'll switch, not much down there, but as far as the bank's usually high on one side and then low and high and low and high on the other. But anyway, it appears that the bank is higher on the other side when actually it will fool you. But where we got out on this one spot, um, you could have rolled another one. All right, I'm still smoking this bowl, so but I have some other business to attend to. And but I just wanted to come on here and smoke a bowl with y'all, and let you know that I thought about it after the fact. I'm like, I should have told somebody I was going to the river, but if anybody pulls up in the yard, it's going to be obvious that me, the trailer, the canoe, the truck's gone. Duggar's gone. We must not be at the house. But if anything had happened to us, um, you know, I was going to call my friend when I got home and go, "Hey, I'm back and I'm safe. Okay, so don't worry about it." And then just hang up, And I thought, because then he would call me back and go, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And well, I went to the river and I should have called you and told you in case anything happened, but that I would call you back when I got home, or like that. And went to the river. I was like, man, if I start calling people or doing so, I will never get there. So I left the cigarettes at the house. I left I left paddles leaning up against the one of my trailers out there. Uh, because I just if I waited another minute, I was just going to die. So had to get to the river, had to be on the water, and it was absolutely lovely. So I hope you enjoyed the videos. Me and Duggar had a good time, and so until next time, Alexander, it's good to see you. Greeny in the background, SD, a lot of folks pulling for you. So I will close with a prayer always. And I have to be Johnny on the spot if that makes any sense to y'all. So, but I do continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And just being, I'm outside all the time, but being down there with the water and the water being chilly, it's got the air chilly next to the water and down there. It was very pleasant. Not too many bugs, only in some places. But anyway, so good time to go find some running water or a lake or something. Anyway, I do continue every time that me and Duggar go outside and plant our feet on the ground, that I do continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relatives and relations will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe, like sitting on the water or near the water or just enjoying nature. So many blessings there. Take advantage of them when you can. And and at number three, that's always very important to me and should be important to thee, is that I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you and all that you come in contact with will continue to learn and accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And as that addendum, that you continue to learn to reject those things that aren't necessary in your life. And since I got a couple of you here, there's some freaky stuff going on with the supply and demand in stores and prices and meats and this and that. Just don't freak out. We just gotta we'll figure it out one way or the other. But if you just get all the same kind of beans and rice, and that's what you're dependent on in case you're in a survival mode, get different kinds of beans at least. Get some yellow rice at least. Don't get all of one thing or another. I'm going to have a little video about prepping and the poor man's method of prepping and how I've prepped for years using cans and different things and stuff. And, you know, in the short term, it's a whole lot cheaper than all of these MREs and stuff. So anyway, Esty, I want to say so many things, just can't write my feelings properly. It's okay, hun. Just have so much love for y'all. I can understand the connection and very humble for this always. Well, Esty, then you know how I feel. I I get what you mean, and I feel that all the time. And so if you want to know how I feel, like y'all coming and chatting and hanging out and stuff, middle of the night, middle of the day, whatever, right? And that y'all are friends and that We are members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, don't forget, and so forth. That I'm so humbled by that. So, like the video earlier, with of the river trip, was, you're my friends. If you can't come and go paddling with me, then the least I can do is take you somewhere where I've paddled. Now, other people can watch the video, but I've kind of done it for y'all, because when I was talking in the camera, I was talking to y'all. I mean, I was like, well, I've been on the river and blah blah blah, and I'm just having this chat. And my chat though was to you guys, you folks, and gals and ladies and everything. And oh God, that's not even appropriate anymore. Um, but I wanted to share my canoe trip. If you couldn't be here personally, then I'm gonna take the camera, and me and Duggar, we're gonna show you what it's like down here. So um, because I just want to share, but from the connection, and very humble for this always. That's how I feel. So it's like you all give me the gift of your participation. And so the least I can do is, like, I've been wanting to go do this thing. I've been wanting to do a video. I want to be Marlon Perkins, and go and shoot video scenes in the wild. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And I just haven't published them. And they've turned out this way or that way. I had a bunch of videos, and some really good pictures that got trashed on a hard drive, and lightning struck the house and it fried everything. And my hard drive, all the pictures, I just come back from Ohio, like about 10 years ago or so, 11 or so. It's been a ways, back in 2006 or so, which had been more like 15, right? But anyway, but to the point, I lost everything. I lost drawings. I lost everything on that hard drive, and all my pictures and stuff. So, and videos, of course, some of the pictures that I took of some orbs and things when I was in Ohio, and of course, all my family and friends that I had re-upped with when I went to Ohio. But, it is what it is. And as I look at things now, it's like I still have the memories. So what good would a picture be? Because for me, who would look at the picture? There's no one around. There's no family that I interact with that gives two craps about me in a picture of who are these people. Well, this is this and that's that. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, this is my brother on the other side, from the Lee side of the family. Oh, really? Yeah. And this is my biological father, Cicero. And so it doesn't matter. It matters to me. It does matter. It did matter. It does matter. But beyond me, that the pictures and what I lost doesn't matter to anybody else. So as much as I wanted to share it with my granddaughters, and all this kind of stuff, that was all pie in the sky for me. It's not necessarily what they wanted, right? Now, things are better now. I'm working out plans and details to go visit my granddaughter, and so and go camping, and go visit with Brian um, Lunsford down in Navarre, and do some floating and paddling. And now that me and Duggar had a really good 3.5 4 hours on the river, um, I have no issue with it. So it's like, let's go. So my trip today on the river was to work out details on how if you see how that canoe's hanging out the back of that trailer, you got to just laugh your ass off and just go, oh my God, what a redneck he is. Look at him. The boat is longer than the trailer. It is much. And half of the boat sticks. It does. But I got a big flag at the back, and it stayed there. But like I said, I almost lost it coming down the driveway. I boom, 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 and I couldn't slow the truck down because it kept stalling out. I got to get this other part of my truck. Runs straight down the highway, but once it gets down to idle, it cuts off. And takes a second to start it back up. But she starts right up and have to rev it a little bit. But as far as going down the highway and running, man, she's like running great. There's no sputtering or anything like that. So really happy about that. And the radiator's working fine, and so thumbs up with all this. So hopefully I'll come to your area one of these days, and maybe you can go float trip with me. In the meantime, have one of these with know if I'm sitting here and not online and it's anywhere near a 20, I'm smoking with y'all. So just for the sake of just saying, hey, we're participating in this group mind. It's not really, I keep calling it this social experiment, but it's not really an experiment. But it is in for me in that how much better can we stay connected? How much better can we become more of a family? And not necessarily about moving closer or anything, but that that I think it's going to be because our energies we will have been around each other's energy long enough that we really trust each other, in ways that meeting one another might not make any difference because the trust has to be built spiritually, you know, and through other things. But anyway, so it's interesting to see everyone's participation in this. And me and Duggar's trip to the Ochlocknee today was, and share. We could have went and I could have left the camera at home, but I wanted to share it with you. So I'm going to leave you with that. I've almost yacked for an hour, but SD, I feel the way you do about this every time, and I'm being humbled and not necessarily kept in my place. But when I undertook this job, if you will, I said, I don't want this to be about big sets behind me or fancy stuff. And I do have the technology and some of the software and things to do it, but it also requires a one of them doors in my head that I haven't cracked open yet. It's been seeping out a little better. See, I've uploaded all this video today, so I'm getting closer. I'm still working on stuff. The older I get, I was senile 5 or 6 years ago. I'm much better now. And working out, little problems around. I went and found a piece of wood and measured it, and put it into the canoe, and it was almost right on the money. I was like, no, ain't that sweet, right? So I haven't been able to cut a piece of wood, and it was a trapezoidal kind of thing. Had to be centered. Done good for not using that part of my brain for a while. Took me a minute, had to get out, had to recharge one of the batteries on one of my drills, but hey, it's done. The seat worked fine. There you go. But if not for nothing else, look at the Ochlocknee River one or something anyway, and see how far that canoe's sticking off the trailer. If that don't just give you a laugh, it oughta. You know what I mean? That just if that don't give you a snootful, you know what? Well, look at that picture with that post sticking out the back of the trailer, and with Duggar in the front seat driving to the river, just happy go lucky. This big ass canoe sticking out the back of this tiny little trailer. Come on now, if that ain't redneck, I don't know what is. Man, after I saw it dangling off the back of that trailer when I pulled up in the dark tonight, I was like, "Holy shit! I've got to be a little more careful." But it was doing fine until it came down the driveway, and the truck cut off, and I'd hit the brakes, and they're powered brakes, and I couldn't slow down, so I came down the driveway pretty damn fast. But um, put it in gear and slowed it down. But anyway, um, I feel how proud you feel, and I'm so. Well, thank you, ST. That's very kind of you to say. And but that's what we're sharing, right? So what if you're feeling that way, me too. And I have to share that, and I have shared it with y'all. And sometimes I get kind of mushy with it, but it's honest to God's truth. I'm down on the river today, and and I'm thinking to myself, all you all are riding with me and the camera, right? And for every time I'm describing it over here, the bank's a little higher than it is, and I turn the camera around and than it is over here, and I'm pointing out front, and it's like y'all are with me, and I'm doing a live stream, even though it's not. It's it was live at the time, with me pointing and stuff, but um, there's I've talked about it in some videos over the years about strange things that I have found down in the swamps and stuff, like. And so today I got a chance to. If that was a mouse, it was as big as a cat. You got my back good. But it's this cement pylon thing, and two or three steps made out, and it's made out of old concrete. You can tell because of the aggregate in it, and the how the concrete looks. So, but anyway, I zoomed in on that to say, remember me talking about this? Well, here it is. Found another place to up on a little hill just off of the river, and got out. Me and Duggar, and took a little video down the road that I don't know where it goes, but I know that we're way down the river. The nearest thing to us is the railroad track, but we're downstream from the railroad track, and this two-lane track up on this ridge, it's falls off, and it's 20 feet down to the water over here in the swampy area. And as far as you can see through the trees and everything, it's swamp. But there's this ridge, and there's similar things in my backyard and my neighbors. But down there's this ridge that runs along, and somebody owns it, and that they can, when they usually have to go down through a swamp spot and then back up onto another ridge. That's usually how it works. But what a beautiful little spot there to camp. And where I normally camp, which is just a little further south, when I'm talking about, I used to camp right here and then take a shortcut and come back through there in the next section of the video. Um, So it's really close to where I normally camp, but it's a whole lot nicer spot. And it's higher up off the bank, and it's not a steep grade at all. So it's like I really want to go back down there. Camping on the sandbar was okay, but anybody that on the river that went by or whatever, they motorboated right, behind you from that side, where it curls all the way around and you can't cut through, and then it comes back in front of your camp. So they're coming right at you at the turn. And so it's not really private, not that there's that many boaters, but it's not that quote private because you're sitting right there between the river and one of these little switchbacks, the space in the switchback. Anyway, so the Ochlocknee means land of twisted waters, or land of winding waters, curving waters, however, and it literally, it will go out here and go take a mile and come all the way back on itself and then go down. Quite a few places all along the river, it'll do that. I mean, it might not really actually be a mile, but it'll seem like it. But in some places, it will actually be a half a mile, because a half a mile is like 3,000 feet, more or less, 2,500. So, and it's an easy 2,500 feet if you was to paddle and go around this horseshoey thing and then come back into the river again. So, it's got some interesting twists and turns, but it was very pretty. The weather was great. It was beautiful. So I hope that comes out a little bit in, if you get a chance to watch it. So if you're bored and ain't got nothing to do, I'd not that I want to see my big old ugly mug on it. I've turned the camera around. Thank God it was dark a lot of the time. But I just, you're watching it. It seemed like the same old thing. And I just wanted to talk to the camera about some stuff and then turn it around and then, look at the next view. So, but anyway, and there are stages where the river is down there, certain curves, open spot, and then it goes into a narrow, and then it's there for a little while. Then you go through another spot, and it looks like there's something moving around back here. Something just bleeped right over there, and there's nothing back there. There's the light behind my head, but there's nothing back over here to be bleeping or doing. I wanted to take some pictures. It got dark down there. Some of the pictures of orbs and things that I've taken. 20 minutes to 4:20. Oh man. Well, I ain't doing nothing else. I thought I had to pee, so that kind of went away for a minute. So maybe I'll sit here with you. If I say, whoops, gotta go, that means I really gotta go. Or I'm going to sit here and go when I gotta go. But anyway, for me, kind of being cooped up here, I really wanted to go to the river. And now, me and Duggar could have made it. There's also the fact that I could have left him here at the house and went and paddled the river for a couple hours. But I would have felt so fucking, I would have felt, I'm trying not to cuss. I would have felt so flippin' guilty to go to the river and not have him. But now today with the canoe, once the canoe was in the water and floating, it was great. It wasn't any better or well, it's better in that we could both spread out in the canoe. I sat up on the seat going down for a little while, and he was being real skittish, so instead I sat on the floor of the canoe and used the new seat that I'd made, and leaned up against it and paddled from there. And that was pretty comfortable, except I was sitting on my foot and my leg went to sleep, or my foot went to sleep. But Duggar, he found his spot and laid down. And I mean, it was just a wonderful paddle, So it was like, it was comfortable for both of us. It's plenty of room, and like I said, that canoe isn't that, I don't know, maybe 40 pounds more than the kayak. So, the weight of a fully loaded ice chest kind of thing, right? But in paddling today and then watching the video and watching how the ripples go past the canoe and how quick I was making time, I was like, man, I really wasn't paddling that hard. But that canoe really, she really is a Cadillac. Wow. So, but anyway, you can tell in my voice that um, it gives me great joy, right? And it does. You know, what it gives me great joy is that I know that I could put somebody else in that same canoe. And if, my granddaughter or whatever, their friends, if somebody was really skittish and didn't want to get in a kayak, I could take a kayak and they could take the canoe because the canoe is that much more stable, especially if you sit on the floor. So if you're scared about tumbling over or whatever, but for some of them rivers that I've seen up there in the Panhandle where I want to go, and I've been checking some gauges and stuff up there. 4 or 5 foot seems to be like, if it's 8 feet deep, that's like a flood stage. But 8 feet down here on the Ochlocknee is sort of a mild flood stage too. So I get that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't float it or that you can't be on it or that because it's, quote, 8 feet deep, that 8 feet you're going to die. Wait, swimming pools are 8 feet deep. Some of them are 10 foot deep. So, you know what I mean? So, and depending on the swiftness of the river, the discharge, some of these creeks and things that I've been checking aren't any worse than the Ochlocknee, especially at different stages. So I can compare through the USGS river stream thing that's available online. They got a new thing you can look at. So I can compare the heights and, and rainfall and say, well, looky here, and what is normal for this? Oh, well, normal for this is 4 feet. Well, wait a minute. They want to say that's normal for South Georgia for the Ochlocknee. And I would, that is true, but that doesn't make it that it's like should be normal. No, it's low. At 4 feet, it's low. It's nasty. It's horrible. You know, normal should be like 5 or 6 feet. It should be like it is now, should be like normal, but it's going to drop another 2 feet. So in the summertime, and folks go, well, 4 feet is normal. So when I look at other rivers, I think about the Ochlocknee and the different places I've been on it, and I scratch my head and go, what do they mean by normal? Well, 3 or 4 feet's normal for this, for this river. Well, 3 or 4 feet, that means that's, up to my chest if I fell in. I could walk the damn river. So in places, my river is that deep, 3 or 4 feet, and at certain times of the year, my river, we used to be able to float. So anyway, um, it's going to be very interesting to go check out some of these rivers. And now that I'm sure that I can make it with the canoe, and I'm sure that I can distribute the weight, still carry the kayaks the way I've designed it, and that this might actually work. And I get to go see my good friend Brian, whom I've never met, but I still consider him a very good friend, and I get to see my granddaughter and her other half, and while I'm there, maybe my daughter won't be, maybe she'll be available. I ain't gonna worry about it. No offense to my daughter, but there's been too many times that I know that she has driven right past the house more or less and hasn't stopped. So if I get in her neck of the woods and don't stop, well, forgive me. Payback's a bitch sometimes. If someone doesn't want to, I don't want to force anybody into liking me. If you don't, now you may wish to spend time with me, but not on the river. Okay, we'll pick something else to do. If you just want to sit in your front room or in your backyard, okay. But when I'm done sitting with you, I'm going to go find some water and go floating. Results feeling like a sacred spot. Okay, Alex, it's up to you now to throw the 1 minute mark out there, or SD, you can back me up on that too. I don't want to. I got some here, but um, and thank you. There are magical places that I have found in a lot of places, and and when I've showed them to other people, they go, "Wow, this is pretty cool," for whatever reason, right? They go, "Wow." So that on I don't know, like 8 or 9 or 10 or somewhere towards the end of today's journey was where I was up where I was just talking about a few minutes ago. Well, actually, it's been half an hour ago, but um, where I found this clearing just up this little shallow incline, but a really nice little bluff. Now, there's not much of an overlook, but as far as there being this nice little gra- green grass cleared spot with a couple of palmetto bushes around and some open sky, and then a trail leading into some big pines, it's like it's a really cool spot. And I'm just was down by the railroad tracks. It's down near where the cement I was telling you about. Um, and notice this little place and say, "Hey, Doug, let's you and I get out and go take a wee, and we'll go. You know, let's go check this spot out." So I like being that far down the river. In that you're more than halfway down to the Georgia 3 bridge than you are from the 19 bridge. And a lot of people go fishing all these other places, but don't necessarily get that far down past the trestle. Uh, okay, so it cuts out some of the traffic. But to be there in that same area where I have been camping, but on the bank side and up on a little green spot, and you can pull your kayak or canoe up, and basically they wouldn't be able to see it until they passed you, because it's just this little cut in the bank that goes up. And so you pull your canoe all the way up, and somebody would not see you until they got, until had, they would have to turn and look straight at you from the river. So, what a nice place to hide without having to hide. And I was really surprised. I wanted to stay, but it was getting dark, and if I'd have stayed 2 more minutes there, it would have, because I didn't bring enough lights and things with me, because I was like, we'll be back off the water and back to the house before it gets dark. Ha 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 ha. It's 4:10. You got 10 more. So I've got all these, headlamps and stuff hanging over here in the house. And of course, I left with cigarettes. I wanted so bad to get there, you know, to the river, but it was really worth it. So, um, you can leave your comments if you watch them or not. And uh, there's weird things along the way. So there's one that's like 17 minutes long, and another one about the same 16 or something, and then some little short breaks. There's one where I'm pointing at an alligator and you can kind of swim in, and he was like, I don't know, maybe 50 yards ahead of us in the water. But then there's the wildlife, that the white birds in the tree. So, and there's a little minute and a half one of just the birds kind of thing. And it was interesting as I was doing the videos. There's supposed to be, a what do you call it? Headshot, a, the picture that goes up for the video, right? Y'all talking that stuff? Oops, I broke out early. Native language of the ABC Islands. I thought I saw something that looks familiar. You went out for us with everything you had to carry. Well, I used to go down there on the river and, take a big tent and really set up, and that canoe will hold so much stuff. And at the same time, like I mentioned in the video, but I pull one of my kayaks behind the canoe, so I can put stuff in the kayak, and some stuff might not ever come out of the canoe, you know, depending on what it is. Because if you're only going to stay for a certain time, why get it out and carry it up the beach and all that when, you know, it's something, some gear, or rope, or a tarp or something if you don't need it, but it's there. So some of the stuff you might not ever have to unload it might be something that you take, like I said, extra tarps or whatever that you don't actually end up using, which is fine with me, buddy, let me tell you. So, it's when you take tarps and it ain't enough that it's a pain in the ass. But um, for example, the beach where I was talking about, and then I found this other alternative up the side, up on this nice little hill. Um, I was camped there with a friend of mine, and his son had stayed with us that night, or the night before, and they left early that morning, and he took his son back up the river and took him wherever he had to go. And then when they left that morning, I don't know, I'd stayed up pretty much all night. We was fishing and had a fire by the river, so they had to go, but I was sleeping in, right? And I was like, heck with this. Well, started raining, and then it really started raining. So, a few hours later, my friend shows back up, right? And he's like, Dave, wake up. We got to go. And I was like, what's the matter, bud? And he goes, no, we have to go. And I'm like, all right. 4:15 it says here. Thank you. So I've got the canoe and I've got the kayak. So I'm taking my stuff down. I'm getting everything, and I'm putting it in the canoe. And the water, it's raining so hard. He pulls out his little, cell phone thing and says, look at the radar. So there was a tropical depression that had came in off the Gulf and in up Tallahassee and was heading up 319 towards Thomasville, where we were, because the boat ramp is like 5 miles out of Thomasville, so towards Cairo. So it rained so hard, the water flowed upstream. There was so much water falling so fast, it flooded, and it couldn't all go downstream. There was less resistance going upstream. So as we were loading this up, this little sandbar is slowly disappearing. Well, actually, it's rapidly disappearing. It went up a foot by the time we could get our camps down and everything in our kayaks and canoes. And it was raining so hard that I was, dipping water, bailing water out of the canoe because there was like this much water in the canoe, plus the gear, right? And and the water was coming up. So, but when we got everything loaded, he was ready, I was ready, and we started off together. The water crested over the top of the sandbar where we were camped, and back upstream we went with all this water pushing us. It was weird. So, folks talk about, well, the river flowing upstream and this in Arkansas and blah, blah, blah. Hey, there was no earthquake, but this happened. We watched it. We're there. Almost lost our camp. If he hadn't got there and woke me when he did, because this only took like 45 minutes. I mean, it wasn't like this was like 2 hours. Nah, this stuff come quick. Now, I don't even know if that tropical storm had a name, but buddy, it hit us hard. Is that an 18? So 2 more minutes. A for real 420. And I haven't been on here all night long, although with all the videos that I uploaded. Um, oh, and I gotta say before we go into the 20 mark, um, the new speed that Windstream got out here. 2 minutes. Thanks, Alec. I'm with you, buddy. I'm ready. The extra speed with the DSL, they got DSL has to have a substation every so many miles to keep the signal up. And it's got to have power, the power pole, and a little thingy. And it's not just this little thing sticking up from the phone company. Well, here, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, they finally got the one up here on the top of the hill. And they finally updated me and my modem and some stuff. And I got to say, a 17-minute video a year or so ago, before all this happened, would have taken me 1 more minute, would have taken me hours to upload a 5-minute video. I uploaded all the video pieces while we were gone today in under an hour. Cheers, Hawkeye. Situation's just crazy sometimes. Yes, ma'am. Cheers to the universe. And as I was paddling back up, all I could think of was, I'm so glad at my age I can still do this. And then when I got to the boat ramp, I I backed up the trailer to I, the 420. Yep, blessings. Cheers. Absolutely. So I had to I got a really long lead line in the bow and stern of the canoe. Even on my kayaks, I have lines on the bow and stern. You get out and you need a line, you want to move, they come in handy. So the one on the bow, I threw up to back the trailer up to the top of the ramp, and the canoe. I was like, how in this canoe get this damn heavy? Well, I had pulled it down the hill versus backing down the hill with this crazy canoe and the thing, and my truck acting a little weird with the accelerator, right? So I opted to drag it down the boat ramp, but when it came to try to drag it up the boat ramp, so I backed the trailer up to it, tied the rope to the canoe, and pulled the trailer and the canoe and trucked the canoe up the boat ramp towards the top so I could get at it. I was like, now that's pathetic. But after paddling and all that, it takes that much out of me. But I was able to get the canoe up onto the back of the trailer and then get behind it and push it up. And I made it. I made it. And I just, all the way home, I was like, yeah, there you go. It's taken me all these years to try to figure out how to get that canoe back to the water because I can't pick it up to load it on my truck. Uh, Now I got this strange little way. So in that, Alex and SD, my little experiment today, and Duggar doing so well reminds me of this gospel song, Down to the Water, but I don't know what is. That isn't the one that goes. Let's see if I can hear it for you. Down to the water, down to the water. I said down to the water. Jesus baptize me in the name of the Lord. Down to the water, down to the water, children, down to the water, children, down to the water, baptize my soul. Hey, something like that. Is that sort of? I know that ain't the one, but it's something like that. I love those old songs like that. And a- I've had some really wonderful teachers over the years, and I feel very fortunate. I'm not going to, pat myself on the back again, but you know, the theater folks that I've worked with about singing and being able to hit notes and so forth, that I just I just like to sing and do right. But the fact that I have this can hear these notes or hear the songs or um, the patterns or whatever, it's just like over the years I've learned just how much of a blessing it is, and I've not tried to hide it because so give me a chance to sing a song or something, whether you're paying me or not. But some folks used to say, well, that's just because you want attention. Not really. Y'all know me better than, I may be on here and bored at 4:30, 4:24 in the morning. Um, but it really isn't about getting attention. It for me, it really is about the performing, though. It is all about the performing, whether it's to sing the song and to feel the vibrations in your chest. And when you push that, feel those notes come out of your diaphragm, and you can project it, into this, an auditorium of 5,000 people or something. It's like holy crap, right? Um, it There's just something about it. But as I've spoke about before, and when I did that video about the dance to with the universe, the song that's in us, let us sing with the universe every day and with our soul, because if you just only sing with your throat, you're still singing, you're still making vibrations. But when you bring that down and you sing from your heart, you sing from your soul, man, that unites you with the universe in a totally different way. So, like that, some of those songs, like, somebody did a remake of 16 Tons and they tried to jazz it up a little bit. And I was like, you should not have done that. I mean, the version's not really bad, but I was like, nah, Tennessee Ernie Ford, do, 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 do. Well, I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of number nine coal, and the straw boss said, well, bless my soul. You loaded 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and a deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. That was in it. If you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't, and a lot of men died. One fist of iron and the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will. You loaded 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and a deeper in debt. The Saint Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Do 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 do. Anyway, my divulging. That's one of my favorite. I've got a lot of favorite songs, but that one by Tennessee Ernie Ford and a couple of other songs. But there's that being. It's not about how much music or how much background is to it, but if you hear the Tennessee Ernie Ford version, which to me is like the only version. There's some other folks that have sang it, and they do their best to give it that Ernie Ford kind of feel to it. But yeah, but some of them old um, chain gang songs, you know, working on the mindset and Charlie, hey ho, hey two. Bang three, bang four. Down to the river we go with the railroad. One, two, and they'd be, moving rails and driving spikes and or chopping side of the road back in the days when they didn't have mowers. They was sling blading the whole place, right? And chain gangs. In a lot of ways, they still do sides of the road stuff and clearing. So, but anyway, it's almost 4:30 and almost an hour and a half that I've been here, and it has been absolutely fun to sit with you. I sing a lot, do whatever comes up, sing my own stories of the day. Yeah, absolutely, singing prayers too, and loosen a bit is good. Yep. Oh, what I was going to say about I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he did a lot of theater for Tui. He did a lot of theater for Florida State. Okay, a lot of choral, a lot of singing. In the right areas, he was very well known for his singing and stage work and performances. And I had a chance to work with him, and he was a wonderful man. And but he showed me how much I was singing through my throat and not from my diaphragm. And he gave me a couple of techniques. And by the end of that, the run of the show that we did a premiere of a show called The Vikings. We are Vikings. We are Vikings. We are Vikings today. Yeah. But that I was trying to push it through my um through my throat versus bringing up through it. Oh, the just a couple of things, and he showed me, and I was. He said, "You got a good technique, and you can belt it out, but you're still singing too much from your throat." And I was like, "Well, then tell me what I need to do. I'm listening, please. I'm all ears. Thank you. Whatever it is." And it was some very simple things. But ever since then, there's a certain timber that sets up in your body. And when you get the frequency and the notes come up like you would hear paparazzi with a baritone, it's like your whole vibe, your whole rib cage, your whole insides, vibrate. And instead of just vibrating from here, you don't feel anything in your chest or your stomach or anywhere. But when you bring that music literally from your soul, bring it up through your toes, and use your chest as this vibrational thing. I was like, it was just amazing. So, and I'm sitting wrong here in the chair to be like doing it right now. I should be sitting up or standing, but to the point though, I can still arrange instead of singing through my voice or through my throat. I can still bring it up from below. It's once you start doing it, now you can't stop. But sure made a difference in my singing voice for myself. I mean, just being able to feel it instead of just singing it through here. And there's been some interviews with certain voice coaches over the years that I've heard on the radios, and how some of these rock stars all said, if I hadn't gone to Madam What's Her Name, yeah, Vikings, yep, yep. And I was the Jerry Lewis. Uh, it was sort of like a Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, and I was one of the Vikings, but Harold the Viking, uh, and I played it to the hilt, but I was actually pretty damn good at it. But and that's where Bob came up also. They had these names like Sven and Swollengarter or something. And there was this one name I could not pronounce. And every time I got to it, I blamed it on the beer. And it was our last performance. And I said, where's your husband? Spelling guard. Why don't we just call him Bob? And the whole place, there were people who were halfway through a drink, real live. It wasn't beer, but it was tea or water, whatever. So we were all having a drink. And I said, where's your, and I was playing my character, and I wasn't trying to upstage anybody or anything. And I was, in my brain, I was like, I'm going to say his name right. It's the final performance. I'm going to get it right this time. And I got to his name, Sven something or other, whatever it was, could not say his name. And I said, please, why don't we just call him Bob? And people were snorting drink out their nose. The audience just went nuts. And the director and the writer of this thing, a professor of music at FSU, he was like, "Oh Jesus!" But everybody liked it. But my dear friend who was playing the Dean Martin thing, you know, he's got liquid literally just shooting out his nostrils and all across the table. And we're all Vikings in the local pub, and we're having mead, and we're doing a song, and I'm supposed to ask where this guy is, right? Couldn't think of his name. Why don't we just call him Bob? So this thing about Bob, and oh, hi Bob, by the way. He had the last performance, yeah. And it was a big premiere. I mean, they premiered it down in Tallahassee and premiered it up in Thomasville, and it was cheaper to do in Thomasville, so we did it in Thomasville. But yeah, it was something. It was a really big production of stuff. I mean, we had. That's why I had talked about the guy that I met from FSU who teaches. He's a master armorist, for medieval fighting and sword fighting and all that kind of stuff. He teaches it. He's got a master's. He's a master in it. Not a plebe or no. He's a master. So that's when I learned that I knew too much about sword fighting. And he was like, "Who taught you how to do that?" And I was like, "A previous life, you know, one of them things I have a really good knack for, and I ain't got a clue how I learned how to do it, like the archery thing and some other stuff. Just Okay. But anyway, so, but I think that's also what makes me a decent outdoorsman, where other people are like huffing and puffing and whatever. I'm just so damn glad I could go down there on the river today, and if I died tomorrow, I'd die a happy man because I got to do something with the dog, with like my old girlfriend, my Cadillac canoe, and I might have to paint it on the side of the canoe, Cadillac girl or something like that. My Cadillac honey or Cadillac, I don't know, Cadillac canoe, kind of sort of. Maybe spell it with a K instead of a C. But anyway, look, y'all, I need to go to bed, and I need to go. I'm an old man, and I have drank a lot this evening since I got home, and I gotta go. But I'm also tired, and I need some rest, and I will continue this adventure later on. So Esty and Alex, if you're still around, and whoever else might be hanging around or listening in the background, we love you. Please stay safe, everybody. Now, I said my prayer an hour ago, or 35, 40 minutes ago, and then decided to stay on. So I'm going to give a short version of the prayer I gave earlier. So I have fulfilled my obligation of saying the prayer. That's my own thing. And SD, just like you mentioned earlier about being humble, um, you know sometimes we have to be able to stand up and say, you know, like for me and Duggar getting to the river doesn't really matter to anybody else but to me and Duggar. And in that, we were the ones that participated, right? Thank you, SD. But um, but the humbleness is when I share it and other people, you know, that it's so I'm humbled by the whole thing all the way around, being able to figure out a way to put the canoe, being able to go on the river, be able to videotape it, be able to come back here, be able to still be alive and kicking and not, and strode up like this going, I can't move like that, you know. So a lot of things to be grateful for. So there are some folks who are like, do you really have the energy to do this? I don't know, but I'm going to try it anyway. I could sit here and, well, I don't know if I can make it down there and back. Yeah, we are now. And have you watched any of the video that I put up? But to the point that he was really good in the canoe. I mean, he was really good. Most dogs are want to walk around a lot and look out and stuff. Mm-mm. He found a spot and was right there. So, but anyway, and when we got out of the river, off the river, I didn't put him on a leash or anything, and he stayed right in the area. Every time he started to go off a little ways, and I went, he stayed and he came back. Like on the video, he didn't. He could have kept wandering, which he used to do. So he's listening more, especially in a strange place we've never been, and so without having to put a leash on him every time, and so he's doing very well, very pleased, very very. Couldn't ask for more, and he's only like going on 4 years old. So, he's still got some puppy in him kind of thing, but he's listening, he's paying attention to me. What, he looked at me like, can I get in the canoe now? Like, and I was like, come on, you know. So even though it wasn't the kayak, but we were at the river and he saw all this stuff going in it and he knew he was going to get in it. He knew the next step was him getting in it, right? So without having to go through a lot of stuff, he saw me getting the canoe ready and loading up the trailer and all that stuff. So, you know, whether he knew in his head or not, we're going to go on the river. he will associate me getting the canoe on the trailer with going to the river in the future. You know what I mean? He'll go, ooh, want to go to the river? Let's get in the canoe. Want to go run the river? Ooh, so hopefully, because there was so much room and it wasn't scary and there wasn't any, complaining or bitching, like get off my, whatever's while we're, I can't move, he can't move. And, in the kayak, there's always shifting and, because there's such a small space. But there was none of that. I didn't have to holler at him or, like, sit down, beast. Nope, none of that. So it was very calm for him in that respect. Um, but he had all this room. So, um, I, cheers. Cheers. I really, you know, you know, that's good on you all the way around, trust and bonding together. Yeah, he got my back too. Yeah, but anyway, so for me, that I have had many animals over the years, and some of them so delightful. If you would have loved my little poodle Sasha dog, she was a wonder dog. Oh, you talk about a swamp donkey. This little thing was a terror. Took on a wolf. you know, Used to play and nip at it and jump all over it. Oh my God. If I could find some of that video of her and they're little old clips, but they are precious. On my river in the backyard back here. But anyway, yeah, she was a sport. Uh, but little Sasha, she loved going in the kayak too, and going out and doing that kind of thing. And of course, she was a lot smaller and easier to fit in the kayak. But she liked to yap a lot. She was a yappy little dog, and Sasha, hush. And sometimes I would literally have to, you hold her nose, not her nose, but her snout and her mouth closed because she'd want to yap. And I'm like, shh. And I wouldn't hurt her, but I would make sure kind of muzzle her with my hand and go, and she'd go, and she'd start to yap, and I go, but he didn't bark the first time while we were gone. Not, 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 not at all. There were other fishermen on the thing. We went over there. Where was this or that? He kind of gave a little bit of woo once or sort of a whine, but not one bark the whole time we were on the river. The birds flapping, flying by, the alligator in the front, the this or that, whatever. Nothing. Not a bark. Not a. He kind of looked, leaned over a time or two, and gave us a little bit of a tilt, but nothing to like throw us out of the canoe kind of deal. Want to jump on the edge and no, he just his body weight's enough. If you from where he was sitting, all he had to do was shift over. And for me, having been in the kayak for so long, the canoe and where I was and how high I was sitting up in it, my feeling of reaction was like, whoa, there we go. We weren't really tipping over, but it felt like it to me. So, but once he got used to, staying in one spot or not wiggling around all the time, I didn't have any problem with him. And I have to get used to the canoe again too, in that respect. But anyway, so thank you, my lovelies. Have a wonderful Friday. And down here, we're supposed to get some rain through, but we're supposed to get some cooler weather. It'll actually feel like fall with the nights in the 50s and the daytimes in the 70s. So I'm really looking forward to this. So y'all be safe. Thank you, SD. Lori had one too, a peach. Great friends. Yeah. Yeah. I picked up this poodly wonder dog, from a friend of mine, and he was like, "Please take her home." And I was like, but, oh, and we bonded, and she was a lovely dog. Had her for quite a few years. Best swamp dog you ever wanted in your life. If you think poodles that, if you think that all poodles want to be pampered and combed and bathed and fluffed, in every poodle. And from what I learned years ago about poodles, there was some breed of poodles that are like big poodles. They look like, like Shetland ponies, a shaggy dog. I mean, they're big dogs, right? But they were hunting dogs and used them and very good, and they loved them and were, true blue kind of thing. And my little Sasha was, only this long and this tall, and she was out there, buddy. Let me tell you. So but I think that some of these poodles that I've seen, and my Granny had them, and Aunt Shirley had them, Becky had them, and so all these poodles in our lives over the years, and there are just times when they just wanted to go outside and roll in the dirt, you know, they just wanted to go outside and be a dog, you know, and I would go, but then I have to bathe it again. Oh my God, if I'd have done that with sausage, that would not have worked, but anyway. So my love all, so almost 2 hours into this, and I'm not hanging around. I got other stuff to do. You have a wonderful weekend too. I really do want to get together. I think this trip to the river, it was necessary for my shaman side because yeah, I had a blockage, and the only way to get rid of the blockage was to go get on the river. That was the only thing to do, you know. And in my brain, it was being a hump. Well, I go need to be on the water. I need to go touch the water. I need to go float on the water. Oh, the water. Oh, the water. And it really is important to me, right? So I've kind of had an enema. I mean, or a blockage, and today was in a way to that's a little bit too graphic, but in a way it was sort of like an enema in for my brain, in that it was like I made it. I got to the river with the canoe, with Duggar, with on the trailer, on the yay, just yay, 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 and I know I can do it again, yay. Maybe not tomorrow, but yay, you know, gives me confidence, But when I was trying to pull that thing back up the bank this evening after, 3 hours paddling and being on the river, I was like, some bitch, this thing got heavy. Lord have mercy. Yeah, I want to do a drum too. Yes. But ST and some of y'all been here with me during this, right? That I share. And like doing the drum, opens up some more things. And I've been square with y'all with this thing about the birthday and the 69 and how weird it just made me feel. And I was just paddling back up the river tonight, going 69 or whatever. I'm still glad I got it. you know, um, Regardless of whatever, I'm still glad I got this and could round the bend and watch the sunset. That last 3.5 minutes of that last number 11, I couldn't have timed it out better to have come around through them trees and hit it with the sun going down behind the trees in the west. That worked out really well as far as pacing and timing. Um, if if I'd have spent another 5 minutes down further downstream, it'd have been dark when we come around that corner. But anyway, um, so for those of you, if you watch it, I hope you enjoy it. Not for me, but for yourself, and just just sit back, lay back, and look at some of the crazy stuff. Some is really nice, like the fish. Yeah, but anyway, so love and peace, everybody. I want to do a card reading soon. There are just certain things that I kind of sort of had to flesh out, that was sort of backing me up a little bit spiritually. And I'm just going to mention this for example. I went to Max Vision, that does the remote viewing. Now, I don't have a bad thing to say about Max. Nothing. Nothing, okay? What I got to say is I can't do it. When they were doing, the guess whatever it is kind of thing, there was so much noise in my head. I was like, what's going on here? And I couldn't see nothing. Now I have astral projected and have kind of sort of done a remote viewing by physically going places. We did experiments. I've had proof in the day when some of these folks are dead and gone now, but we conducted experiments. So one of the simplest ones was to go to someone's house or place of business or whatever at a particular time. And it's all about looking at the watch or a clock or something. And that so where were you at, at 3:30 or, at 11 p.m. at night? Okay. Were you in the John getting ready to go take a shower? Were you out in the kitchen fixing your late night snack? Were you getting, lunch ready for tomorrow? What were you doing at 11 o'clock at night? And be able to pinpoint it. Tell them what was in the kitchen. Tell them, what they were wearing. Tell them where they were standing. And so that's how you prove whether or not you can do it. Okay. But when I was listening to Max and things, and folks were getting close and this and that, it was so noisy in my head. I was like, I can't do this. I know how I can do it, but I can't do it like this. Now, like I said, this ain't got nothing to do with Max, but I'm going to do a separate video about it. Yeah. So anyway, nothing against Max. Max does a great job, and all the people who, interact. But I realized as I was trying to focus, all I could hear was other stuff, and I think it was I was going to say contestants, but participants and their thoughts and things. And it was just a jumble to me. So doing it as a group, I don't know after all these years because of all the things in my own way that I've developed since I was a little kid, mind you, and the experiences, but to try to participate in a group viewing, it was just too noisy for me. And I just find that really odd, but interesting at the same time. So I want to have more of a discussion on that later on. Um, and I take full blame for you know, what other people were doing, what seemed like very easily and naturally, was really confusing and difficult and made me feel dyslexic. And in certain ways, I was as a child growing up. And I still have to, I'll read the instructions and then have to kind of, if the instructions aren't very clear, I'll have to rewrite them in my head so I know what it is. Dave's interpretation of what you wrote down. It means the same thing, but it means how I go about it. So, and I have met other folks that feel similarly, like Brian Barnett was one of those folks before he passed, where he said, people tell me about this meditation, and I just don't see what they do. I don't see what they see. They're like experiencing this and this and that, and it ain't really happening for me like that. But I do get this and this and this. And I was like, So he was like on my wavelength in that. And I'm like, I don't see it the way those people do either. Now we had both agreed that we had taken an exceptional amount of psychedelics, acid, mushrooms, peyote, and that other people I don't think have had near as much as we've had. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying. Well, how many times did you trip? Oh, maybe 10 or 12 or 15 times. When? In my lifetime? Oh, I tripped 10 or 12 times in a week. you know, I'd come home from work and drop with the folks, and I'd been tripping all day long from what I took that morning to get me through the day. I mean, like, yeah, do a hit of acid before you go to work. Yeah, no, that's nutty, right? But and I'm not trying to, pull rank on anybody, but there's something about those of us who've had an exceptional amount of tripping and that haven't lost our mind, but in a way our minds have been altered that I have often wondered if where some people see things with colors and things and stuff and whatever, um, it almost seems like early tripping, but we tripped so much that wasn't part of the trip anymore. It was something else. It had moved beyond it. I know it did for me. And Brian and I had talked about this. But so for some folks who are asked to project or doing some of these things, I have wondered. We wondered uh, if if we were behind them or ahead of them. In that, have we seen so many colors in our tripping that we don't see it that way anymore? And that was my assumption. I was like, dude, folks have been talking about this, seeing this stuff, and how they go into their transcendental whatever state and all the meditation and all. And that just ain't there for me. And it wouldn't be neither. And I was like, but it don't mean you're doing it wrong. Really? Right. And we became fast friends right after then. And we still are. I love you, Brian. But and this whole world be turning around, da 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 da, out on the roof. Oh, but anyway, so have a great day, everybody. And I promise to do cards soon. I got to find them, but I feel spiritually, mentally, and kind of sort of after the water in the canoe today, I'm going to get a good night's sleep and just go, I did it. I find it was a goal I've been trying to make and I did it. That's another thing too. If you think you just can't do it, you know, quit making up excuses and find a way to do it. I did. So keep up the good work, everybody. I love you all from Southwest Georgia. TTFN, ta ta for now. We love you. Cheers. Y'all keep it together. Be the and conscious observer and be sweet and be careful. Till next time, go to your nearest lake or river and have a great time, or go to the ocean if you can. I love you all. Be safe. SD and everybody, be good. See you next time. Adios.